What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Michelle, and we are
Hello.
discussing the third episode of Outlander Season 7. And this is the episode that starts with the big house going boom.
Yes.
Rest in peace, Wendigo Donner, you pathetic. I'm so mad at him. When I tell you, when I watched that house burn, I cried. I was like, it was such a
It was such
glorious.
a beautiful house. And then them, being their own firefighters trying to save the house. I'm like, you can't save it. I'm sorry.
Once that thing spread to the second floor, Jamie was like,
It's like that's don't even waste the water.
it's
I
done.
mean, it's done.
It's done.
But it was a lot of work put in that house. I felt bad too. Like, wow.
Like he literally built the house from scratch. He
Yeah,
built
he
the
did.
house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a beautiful house. But Wendigo Donna, good. I was like, well, at least we know the bugs weren't the ones that died, at least not at the beginning, because they got out
No.
the house. Jamie and
Mm-hmm.
Claire, they got out the house. So at least they didn't die from the fire. And as we see at the beginning of the episode, the episode starts out in Scotland. Roger and Brianna are back at Roger's childhood home, and he's there with Fiona and her husband and their kids, and everybody's doing fine. Mandy has had her surgery and she's doing okay. And what happens is they've gotten this box that Fiona has had for who knows how long. And
And
it's a
how she
box.
got the box. Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Well, they delivered the box to the house, and it
They
said
did.
James. What was it? James. What is? I mean, Jeremiah
It's Jeremiah.
Alexander Ian
Uh
Mackenzie Frazier.
uh-huh.
So the box is for Jimmy. Fiona's been holding it for whenever the courier dropped it off, but the bank says that they've the bank says that they have had this box for over 200 years. So it's literally been sitting there.
And this is a great bank. Like this bank, you should trust. Put your money in because they've been around for 200 years and they still surviving.
Right?
So I like this bank
Stuff. Holding on to stuff.
and
So,
not questioning. Like we still got this box. Like
right.
who is this box for?
Right. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess it's gonna go. And I wonder, like, I don't know. That's the question. But you know what? It could have gotten to her when Roger and Brianna first came through. Because remember, they came through in
Mm-hmm.
Ocracoke, so they would have been in the States. Chances are they went back to Boston. Um, Joe Abernathy did the surgery if he was
Mm-hmm.
still in practice at that time,
Mm-hmm.
because at this point, it's been about maybe 7 years since Brianna left and went, back in
Went
time.
back. Mm-hmm. And I
So the
still have
question is,
questions, but it's just side questions. Like, okay, because her
what
mom
side
had left
question?
her the deed to the house and everything. And then she left. Like, did she sell her mom's home first or did she keep it? And if she kept it, who been paying the taxes on it? Did Brianna go? Well, she's a smart girl. So she probably went to the bank and they had an executor to pay on the taxes for the house. It's
Right.
just quite interesting
So I would
because they
assume.
had to come back to something. Like they had to have
Mhm.
some type of money.
Right. So in the books, Joe Abernathy knew about Jamie. He knew about
Okay.
Claire's time traveling. Like she had confided, they were that close of friends that she confided in him about all of that once it became apparent to her that she was struggling with the decision on whether or not to go.
Okay.
And he was one of the people that encouraged her to follow her heart and to go. He was like, look, it's been 20 years and you're still thinking about this dude. Go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and go find him. You deserve some happiness. He was like, look, everybody around here saw you and Frank. We know that y'all were together, but we know that that wasn't a great marriage. We know it wasn't a happy marriage. Go
Mm-hmm.
find your happiness. And so when Brianna got ready to go back to find her mom after the obituary, um, she didn't tell Joe about going back. Roger, once he realized she went back, he well, actually, what happened was in the book, he called Joe to ask if Brianna was there because he had an inkling, I think, if I remember correctly, that Brianna had gone back. And so when Joe answered the phone and Roger said something about, did she say anything about going to find her mother or something like that? Like Roger didn't know that Joe knew. And I
Mm-hmm.
never remember because when I read the expression, it made me laugh because he said something like, Jesus Christ on a cracker. She actually went back, or she went and did it. Because I think Brianna had confided in him about being worried for her mother and wanting to warn her. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, not knowing if she would be able to travel back, not knowing if she would be able to find her. I think she confided all of these things to Joe. So I'm just assuming in my mind that if she made this decision to go, just like Claire gave Joe the letter to say, hey, can you turn in this resignation letter for me? Like they trusted Joe with certain things. And he was close enough to the family that Brianna considers him like an uncle. So I'm thinking that he probably would have been the
Was
one.
taking care of
Probably,
the
yeah.
estate.
She
Okay.
probably would
I'm
have been like, hey,
okay.
so give this information to Joe Abernathy. And he was probably like, really? So,
Right. Okay. And
yeah,
I'll go with that.
yeah.
That's just a side thing I thought of when Brianna and Roger went back, and I'm like, okay, you're back. Like housing,
Mm-hmm.
money, who's been taking care of the things that you have had in the past.
Right,
So
right,
I don't know why that was a concern of mine, but
right.
if that was in the
Because
books, then that would lead to that he would have been helped doing the estate planning
yeah,
and making sure everything
or
was
they could
okay.
have trusted it to Fiona because Fiona knew the secrets. She knew about
Okay.
them going back to the past, and of course, her grandmother was the caretaker for the house when the Reverend was alive, and we saw Fiona was kind of caretaking when Roger was there. So she probably was like, okay, well, let me keep track of this, and maybe Roger gave her the information. Who knows? I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
though Roger and Brianna weren't married back then, but he would have told her, okay, so maybe we need to check out and make sure this is, it could have been any number of those things, but I
Yeah.
kind of feel like it might have been Joe. So
Yeah.
it would have
Okay.
been nice to see him in this episode, like maybe see that reunion and that lead up, but I know that they are condensing the story because they
Yeah.
have a lot to get through, so it's just automatically assumed that he's probably the one who did it. And then, like we said,
Well,
Mandy's,
it's assumed for book readers, not for general public like me, because I have no idea that he knew and those
yeah, but
things.
no, I would think for the show people, when Claire was telling Brianna that that Mandy would need a heart procedure, and she said, well, can you do it? And Claire was like, no, I can't do it, but I know someone who can.
Well, no, I would think
Autom-
him, but knowing that he knew that they're travelers,
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
like
I
I
was
wouldn't
thinking,
have known that, and to think, okay, as soon as they get back, they'll have this reunion. I would have known that. I would be like, oh, I heard from my mama who is traveling abroad
yeah,
that
that's
you're
what I
good.
would think. Yeah, that's what I
I
would
would
think
think
as
as
far
the
as,
normal me with the normal general watcher be like, oh, she probably went to him and said, oh, my mom's traveling abroad, but she said that you're the best person to bring our daughter to. And he's like,
yeah,
oh,
that's what
okay.
I would
How your
assume for the
mama
show.
doing? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
that's
she
what I would
call
assume
me?
for the show.
Like, why she not calling me? Where
Right.
she going?
Yeah,
Doctors Without Borders.
we've been
I don't
living
know if
off
she's
the
working.
grid for
Right.
however many years. Yeah, that's what
We
I would
write
assume
letters.
too. Yeah. Yeah. But for the book readers, I'm assuming that Joe maybe knew or maybe had an idea, and or maybe even Brianna was just like, hey, I'm gonna go follow my mother. I'm gonna make sure she's okay. And oh, we just decided to stay in Scotland, and I just forgot to I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. I'm just like making something up for you.
right, like, okay, oh yeah, by the way, hey, we're back, and we need to
Right.
get back in our house, and my daughter needs heart surgery, and blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But going back to this mysterious box. So they received this box, and it's kind of emotional for Brianna because she doesn't know what the box is. She just knows that her son's name is on the box. So she automatically assumes that it's about her parents, but I don't think she really thought that it might be from her parents, because again, at this point, we don't know if Claire and Jamie had died yet, because on the obituary that she originally went back to them because of, the date in the upper right hand corner, the last digit was blurred over with ink. So we don't know what year it was that they were supposed to perish. We don't know if it was 1776, 1777. We don't know. So at this point, when she opens the box, she sees letters in her parents' handwriting, and she gets emotional. She opens the first letter, and the first letter is from April 1776. And Jamie is basically saying, hey, if you're reading this, we're alive. You know, it's April. We did have a fire. This is what caused it. And then that's when we kind of see what happened at the end of last episode with Wendigo Donner lighting the match, Claire trying to get him to put it out. And before he passes out from the ether, Jamie shoos the bugs out. He grabs Claire and they run, and then the house explodes. So we get him telling Brianna all of this, and then he starts, they start reading some of the letters a little bit. And so she's emotional because she's like, okay, they're alive. And Roger is like, you and your damn matches. He was like,
right.
What did he say? The 18th century is lucky to have survived you and your mom. He was like, between your matches and your mom's ether.
Like, and it was the truth. That was so funny. No, I was like, yep. He told the truth.
Saying, why are you blaming this on me? He was like, no, you don't understand. Because he was so giddy about it. And she was like, why are you blaming this on me? He was like, you don't understand.
Right. He was like, you burned the house down.
And your ether, you burned down the house. This is a different fire from the one in the obituary. They survived it. So we changed history. So they're ecstatic, like, oh, we did it. We changed it. And I'm sitting there looking like, y'all don't know. Y'all still got 1777, 1778, and 1779 to go. Like, yes, this is a short-lived relief, but we don't know how far the letters are going to span, because I think she doesn't want to read through all.
Yeah, she doesn't want to read them all.
Which is understandable, because like she said, once we go through all of the letters, they'll really be gone. So yeah, let's take our little time. Let's just be thankful that they are alive. But again, I was like, Roger, you should have just let Wendigo Donner go, and then it would just be whatever. They would still have the big house. But I would say them going through that fire, watching the fire burn and everything, everybody trying to save it, and then watching them go through to try to salvage everything.
That was hard.
Because I was like, I can't even imagine. I know people who have gone through that in real life, and I just can't even imagine how hard it is to lose everything. But then you do have little snippets of things that they were able to salvage. The fire shut the cabinets in the surgery again, and she had to pry those cabinet doors open, but one of her journals was still intact. I'm telling you, Jamie used some quality materials in that big house.
He did, because it was actually it's other cases too. You open up and the clothes are okay in those. I'm like, can y'all sell that?
I was so happy to see that the Fraser tartan survived.
Yeah, it was like, man, that's some quality bins right there.
Man, hello. And I
chest. Like, sorry, some quality chest.
Aren't those wood chests? Like,
I thought so, but then I'm looking at it, because I was like, I can't believe that survived the fire. And it was like two other ones too that are just charred on the top and the sides.
I was like, look, they sealed them things with some good, whatever it was that they used. They sealed them good, because like I said, all of their clothes that they brought over from Scotland that were in the chest, like the tartan, I'm assuming some of her stuff from France was in there, because remember, they reused those clothes when they were in Jamaica. So that had to have been all the old stuff, so that stuff survived. Claire was able to pull a couple of pieces of clothing out, a couple of pants that I don't know, once they're scrubbed, they might be salvageable. But I think the really important thing was that Ian found the portrait of young Willie.
Yep.
And was able
That
to give
survived.
it to Jamie so that, you know, he still had that portrait of his son. And then Ian just kind of was like, yeah, I saw him, you know, when he came to the Ridge and I remember him, which I don't remember Ian being at the Ridge at that time, but maybe that's just me. I mean, I think he was there, but he was still living off to the side. I don't remember. But I think the most important thing about it is that when Jamie starts telling him, he was like, yeah, I saw Lord John and William in town. William is a soldier. He's going to fight for his country, blah, blah, blah. And Ian's like, oh, okay, that's cool. You must be really proud. And Jamie is looking at him at first with panic, like, how
What you
can
mean
you,
by that? What you
like,
mean by that?
and Ian was like, yeah, could
Yeah.
tell, like the way that you watched him when they came to visit, I could see it. Plus he reminded, you know, his
Remind them of
temperament
his mama.
reminded him of my mother and of you. And Jamie was just like, he can't ever know I'm his father. And Ian was like, dude, you got to have Fraser blood to be able to see that, but I know it, and your secret is safe with me. But I feel like for Jamie and Ian, for them to be as close as they are, and for them to have um not so many secrets between them. The fact that Ian has been able to come to Jamie on a couple of occasions and be like, okay, look, so let me ask you about Auntie Claire, because I know she's from the fairies, or I know you say she's not from the fairies, but something's weird about her. Here, look at this journal from Otter 2. Do you recognize this? And she's like, I guess we need to tell him the truth. And then
Mm-hmm.
even with this, like Ian is a very keen observer,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it that now there are no secrets between him and Jamie. Like Jamie can,
Done.
you know, having that kind of secret, especially when you have to hold it from people that you love, it does something to a person, you know, because you always have to watch what you say and what you do and how you react around certain people. So, like, every time someone new learns about Claire's secret, like with Jamie, you know, Claire was able to really be more of herself and fully love him once she was able to let that truth out. Them being able to share it with Murtaugh, because Murtaugh was looking at Jamie
Well,
like,
yeah, because some of the things he was like, this doesn't make sense of how we will make decisions, and you let her make the decisions. He
mm-hmm,
needed to know
yeah,
because I remember that, like, it was too much conflict. Like,
right. He was
y'all
like, so
couldn't keep
you're
going.
supposed to be supporting Prince Bunny Charlie, but at the same time, you're conspiring against him. Like, what the hell is this?
What, yeah, like what is going on
Right.
here?
So being able to tell Murta and now being able to tell Ian, I know that that's every time that happens, that's a weight lifted off his chest. Now, like I said, I don't know if his sister ever finds out. I don't know if Fergus and Marsley ever find out.
Hmm.
But once they do, I'll be so glad, because it will
Yes.
explain so much for all of them, especially
Hmm.
Claire's absence. Like, because like Jenny said, the Claire that I knew would have never left. You know, I don't care what she believed about my brother. She would have never left and then not spoken to us for 20 years.
Right.
So I like the fact that now Ian is kind of in the fold. And
Yes.
then, you know, Ian is one of those people, he protects his family. He protects their secrets. And he's not about to let anybody,
And that's the best person to have by your side. I'm telling you,
because
the best person to have.
when they're still going through the rubble and Jamie finds that piece of gold, and later on Archbug comes to the house looking for it, and Jamie is like, so you want to tell me about this gold? The fact that they kept showing Ian back in the, you know, Ian was like, I'm way in the back, I'm in hiding, but I'm just over my Uncle Jamie's shoulder, just so y'all know I'm here. I love the way that
Right.
they kept doing that with the camera. Like, yeah, Jamie and Arch are sitting there having a conversation, but Ian is right there in case some shit pops off. But you know, when Jamie asks Arch about the gold, you know, I keep forgetting, he doesn't know the story about Jocasta and Hector and what happened with their daughter, with Hector stealing the gold and coming to America. Like, he doesn't know any of that. That's something that only Myrta ended up finding out the night
Mm-hmm.
he went to Jocasta before she married, what's his name? So when Arch tells him the story, he was like, there's three people, when the Jacobite gold came in, that we're supposed to divide it. Dougal McKenzie, Hector Cameron, and then Malcolm Grant, who he was the taxman for. He was like, I don't know what Dougal did with his, but we know what Dougal did with his.
Mm-hmm.
Dougal's is on Silky Island. So he said he didn't know what Dougal did with his. Malcolm Grant, once the gold didn't get there in time for the king, he used it for Scotland, which is what they were supposed to do.
Supposed to. Mm-hmm.
But he was like, Hector Cameron took his gold and ran off like a traitor, which we know to be true. And he said, all I had to do was go to River Run and see, what he did with his share of the gold. But again, we have to, he's also accusing Jocasta of being a traitor, but we know that Jocasta had no idea that he had that gold until that fateful day. But I mean, I guess for Arch, I can understand his bitterness because he
Right.
think that they ran, which they did. They fled Scotland.
And now they have this, lovely home.
Grand, yes.
Right.
So what did he tell Jamie? He said, so every time we went to River Run, I looked in cabinets, I looked in closets, I looked everywhere. And then I thought about it. Hector Cameron is not going to part with that gold except for through death. So it was in the crypt with him, which I do remember from the books, but I think it was a little bit more involved in that than that. But of course, we're trying to save some time and push the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, dude, you went into his crypt.
Yeah, and that was funny. And then I'm more like, damn, you took it to your death. Like, you could have like kind of spread it out a little bit for your wife a little bit or something. But you know what? That's the best way to do it, though.
Yeah. And I think Jocasta didn't really want to have anything to do with the gold because of what it cost her.
Mm-hmm. But it's the best way to do it is to put it in the grave with you in your casket.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to worry about grave robbers, obviously. But
well, no, because no one would have thought about doing that.
Except for Arch,
which
makes me feel like, okay, so what kind of man are you that you really would think, oh, okay, somebody's gonna take this to their grave? Like, who else thinks about going to rob somebody else's grave or their crypt? And I know what he was trying to say. He was like, I'm a loyal man. I was loyal to Malcolm. I swore oath to Malcolm Grant and I kept it. I swore oath to blah, blah, blah. I kept it. I swore oath to the king when I got here and I kept it. He was like, I'm not a thief. But like Jamie said, if you steal from a thief, you a thief. You still stealing.
Right. You still, it's true. You didn't return it.
I understand.
It's not like you stole it to return it to who it belongs to. You stole it and you kept it. So you a thief.
What he was saying was he was stealing it back bit by bit because he was going to, I guess you could say, return it to Scotland. I don't know if he meant he was actually going to take it back to Scotland or if he was just going to use it for maybe the other Scotsmen, maybe to go back to Scott. I don't know, but I don't think he
need to figure that out because he's older. You don't have time. It's not like you 25 and you're going to figure out what you're going to do with this gold.
Yeah, but I don't think he was using it or he was stealing it for personal gain. I don't think so. Maybe just to throw a finger at Hector Cameron in the beyond. Like, yeah, you stole this money from Scotland. I'm stealing it back. Because other than that, what? And granted, yes, we found out where he was hiding the gold. He literally buried it under the house and thought that Jamie would never find it. But it's like, how long had you planned on doing that? And then once you got all the gold, how were you going to transport it anywhere else? Like,
right.
Gold is heavy.
It is. And you're older.
But him and Jamie have this little argument, and Jamie is like, yeah, you know what? You take your life out of my hands, you take this gold out of my hands, you and your wife get off my land and don't come back. I was like, hold up. I was like, Jamie, I felt like that was kind of harsh.
I
But
did too, though.
I think Jamie in that space too was probably, I won't say emotional, but if you think about it, if the thugs who were with Wendigo didn't find anything when they searched the bugs, if they didn't find the gold, if they didn't find anything, Wendigo very may well have been like, okay, they don't have any jewels, let's go. He could have, probably wouldn't have, but there was always a chance. But because they found that gold, they were probably like, okay, if they got gold, they probably have gemstones. They probably have something else. So I don't know. Maybe Jamie was looking at it from that point of view, but
No, because Wendigo he swore that they had gems. It didn't matter about the gold. Like he said, I don't give a crap about that gold.
right.
Like the other dudes tossed the house for more gold, but he didn't care. He just knew in his heart that there was a gem up in that house.
And like I said,
However,
all they had to say
Jamie
was
was
there's no,
harsh
yeah.
because for me, the bugs have been there for them. So it's like you got to try to understand where this older gentleman is coming from. Give him some grace.
Right.
Don't you? I just don't feel like you should kick them off the land. Like maybe you can go stay at Tom Christie's house. I don't know. Just you.
Yeah.
It could have been handled a little differently.
Yeah.
Say I kind of understand what you were doing, but you're still like a thief, so we're gonna have to rectify this. So
But I
let's
will
get the
say this
gold
too.
and do something about it.
Archbug could have waited a little bit longer before he came searching through the still smoldering embers of the house to look for that gold.
True.
He could have waited a little bit because you know what? Jamie could have, if he had waited a few days, maybe a few weeks, but you don't come and look for the gold while they're still there trying to see what they can salvage from their burnt out house. That's inconsiderate as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it's insensitive. This man just lost his home. No, granted, you just there. So I don't know. I just think all around this whole conversation, this should not have been a conversation that they had right there at that moment, because both of them are very proud Scotsmen.
Mm-hmm.
And Archbug he had a bug up his ass, like, oh, you're not about to tell me when your relatives were the ones that were thieving this, that, and the other. And then Jamie could have been like, you know what? I just need you to step away from here for a moment. We can have this conversation at another time.
Later.
Right
Yep.
now, I have other things that I need to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation should have waited. But just like you said, and just like Merdina said when Arch went and told her that Jamie was kicking him off, she was like, we have been on our knees cleaning for them, cooking for them, serving them meals. Now, granted, I don't know if that's something that they volunteered to do. Like, oh, okay, well, since you're the laird, we will come and serve you, and you just, we'll take care of the house for you or whatever. I don't know what the dynamics are of that relationship. It's just always like you assume that somebody of Jamie's stature, Jamie was the laird in Scotland. He's technically the laird of the ridge here. I know that the bugs weren't doing that stuff for free. But at the same time, it's like, what she say? We were doing all this. We've seen some things and we've kept our mouths shut. That's another reason why I feel like Jamie would
don't kick them off.
Right.
Right. It's like one of the things where they know some of your secrets. You don't think they know some secrets, but they know some things.
And they know some things are weird. Like,
right. And it's just like Ian, it's like right. It's like Ian, like I feel like sometimes Ian gets all the information because he's just sitting on the side. Mm-hmm. He's watching and listening. Mm-hmm. The bugs are doing the same thing, but they're in the midst of things. They're in the midst sometimes of y'all having conversation or walking by. And then they talk to each other at night and piece together things.
Especially because Mrs. Bug knows you. I mean, we saw that in the last couple of seasons. Like, she'll just be walking past.
So then you the first thought is not to kick them off of the land, but have a serious talk about what is going on.
Right. But again, I will say this, Archbug should have let well enough alone for the moment, because they're still trying to salvage stuff from this house. So you know that they're gonna go back and forth. But
Yeah,
what happened
but
that
I know,
night?
but he should have went.
So, so I don't know if this was something that he planned or if this was something that she did. Maybe Mrs. Bug thought that, oh, okay, well, he'll be looking for Arch. He won't be looking for me.
You
I don't know
dress
if
like a man.
she had on his stuff. I will admit
Right.
that.
So
So I don't know
so
what she was. I don't know what she was thinking, but that
she was
night.
better off dressed like herself, and he would be a little bit more lenient with her than her husband. But you
I
dress like a man on someone's property.
think he would have been lenient regardless, just because of who they were. He was
Well,
going to warn Arch. They were going to try to make sure they were going to let him dig up the gold. And then he was going to be like, I'm taking this gold back. You need to get off my land. Now, with her sitting there, and I'm sitting here even looking at it in the background, it does look like Arch from
yes.
afar. Like even the angle of the face, it looked like him. But the other thing is, she's shorter. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's certain things that should have let them, that could have let them know that it was her. But of course, she was hunched over. She's digging for the gold.
Right. It's dark.
But here's the thing. For either of the bugs, no matter how things got with Jamie kicking them off the land, they should know Jamie well enough to know that he would never do them harm. So I don't understand when he came up and he said, Archbug, I would have a word with you, why she turned around and shot at him.
I don't know.
I understand you trying to protect this gold, whatever. But Jamie, he would have never done them harm.
Mm-mm.
So that makes it even more tragic when she shoots at him. And of course, Ian is off to the side just in case, which I guess is a good thing. He shoots with her with an arrow. But again, we don't know that this is Mrs. Bug until they get to her and they turn her over. And we find out it's her. And at this point, Jamie and Ian are both broken up because they thought it was Arch. They all have high regard for the bugs, regardless of all this stuff. The bugs are basically like family.
Mm-hmm.
So for this to happen, I was like, yeah, kind of like we always say about Jamie and Claire not catching a break. Ian can't catch a break. Ian didn't want
No,
to do
because yes, and he really felt horrible about that because they had been there for him, especially Mrs. Bug, and I was like, that was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah,
He
but
can't
also at
catch
the
a
same
break.
time, how many people is this that Ian has had to kill in as many days or in as many weeks?
Well, he don't count that one from last week.
I mean, I understand, but still, anytime you
And
kill a
and and did he
person,
even tell Jamie about that one? Probably not.
maybe he did. Because I would have, I don't think Claire would have kept that from Jamie.
No, they needed to know because they needed to know what that situation was and who actually got her pregnant. So yeah, that evening after they buried his body, they went and they told Jamie everything. Now we got the tea for you.
Yeah, Ian was probably like, yeah, I did this and I don't regret doing it.
No.
Just so you know, we don't have to worry about that problem ever again.
Ever.
Yeah, I think they would have told Jamie. I don't think they would have kept that from him, especially like we just said a few minutes ago. Jamie and Ian don't really have secrets from each other.
Mm-mm.
So, and I think that's a big thing. Even though, yes, Alan deserved it, I still think for Ian, Ian is not a person who's going to kill lightly. And he only does so in certain situations. Like every time that we've seen him kill on this show, it's always been to protect his family, to protect Jamie, to protect Claire.
Correct.
And in this instance, even though
And one time last week was for himself, but
no, because at the same time, I feel like even with Alan, that was in a way protecting Jamie and Claire, because think
no,
about
no,
what.
no. He felt that. That was
Oh no,
he's okay. He's okay with it. It was for him.
he's not. But what I'm saying is, originally, Alan, whose lives did Alan mess up at first? Jamie's and
Everybody's,
Claire's.
but he really thought that baby was his. Now
No.
he has, that's a trigger. That was a trigger for
Yeah,
him. But
yeah,
he don't really care about that one. But seriously, no, he'll do anything to protect Jamie and Claire.
right.
And but that's right though. If we have a trespasser on our land who shoots at my uncle, who can't shoot back, I'm going to shoot. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sorry, Arch, you put your wife in that. I don't know. Maybe she did it on her own. Maybe he didn't know she was doing it, because we don't know.
Yeah.
However, you can get upset, but this is one of those things where we all handle this not in the right way.
Right. Exactly. So, they.
So don't blame young Ian. Don't come after somebody he loves.
But you know what? And that's the thing that I think that got me, because first of all, the time from when she died and they actually had the funeral was probably a day, couple of days or whatever. And they were like, no sign of Arch, like he hasn't come, like does he even know his wife is dead? The fact that he didn't show up, they wouldn't have known that he knew, because what did Jamie do? Jamie told him, don't come back. Like you said,
Yeah, but he knew.
Arch probably figured it out once Murdina didn't come back. He was probably like, oh, if he wasn't the one to send her for the gold, he
Right.
probably figured it
Or
out.
he wasn't further back watching this scene and couldn't do anything. He didn't have anything. And then once he realized she was dead, he's devastated. And he go off back into the woods.
Right. And so then the next time we see him is at the funeral that they have for her. And he comes out of the woods and he's looking haggard and he's looking upset, which is understandable. But he does allow them to proceed with the funeral. He does allow them to pay their respects, because I think even in his mind, he understands that he had some fault in that. Yes, he wants to blame Ian about it, especially once Ian was like, look, this good lady died by my hand, and he gives him the knife and he's like, a life for a life. Ian is fully ready to be like, okay, you know what, you take your revenge out on me, because Ian is feeling that guilt. But you had something to do with this. You shouldn't have lied to Jamie about the gold. You shouldn't have kept it a secret and then lied about it. And then whatever the situation was, whether she went voluntarily on her own or whether you sent her because they wouldn't I don't know what the case is, but the fact is, you should have left the gold well enough alone. Like I said, you came at the wrong time to begin with. This house is still smoldering. They're still trying to recover what they can from the house. You don't come, like you said, trespass,
right,
trying to get your gold and then expect for nothing to happen. Like, yeah, bad decisions all around, just surrounding that whole thing. And
it is, because you're right to think about, okay, they have things in their home that is valuable. So you just don't understand that Jamie and Ian may be camping out just to protect from any looters coming through.
Right.
Knowing that they have a fire, seeing if they can find anything that they don't want. So this wasn't the time at all. You should just let it go.
Yeah, he should have. But I feel like his whole warning to Ian, what did he say? He was like, when Ian offered a life for a life, he was like, oh, I won't take your life, but can I take your dogs? And Ian was like, no, the dog didn't do you wrong. I did you wrong. And he was like, yeah. He was like, and that's a dog. You're willing to give up your life, but you won't even give up the life of an animal. He was like, yeah, no, I'll wait until you have something valuable to take, and then you'll see me again. I was like, dude, this is the wrong family to threaten. Have you
Right, but
not
I didn't
learned
like
that
that.
at the
Right,
fact that you were at your wife's funeral?
right. But I didn't care for that because in my mind it went spiraling down. I'm like, here we go again. He ain't gonna find a love. That man gonna pop out the bushes and kill his new wife, and there we go. He won't have another love again.
Yeah,
See, we
but
don't got time for this, and Ian doesn't have time for this. He has
Jamie don't
already
have
gone
time
through.
for it either. Jamie was like, "We going back to Scotland."
I'm gonna drop his ass off at his mama's house.
He was like, "You know what? I've been telling Jenny I was gonna bring her child
Right.
home.
It's time.
You know
It's
what?
time.
Now's
It's
the time for me
time.
to take him home
It's
because
time.
what is Arch gonna do? Is Arch gonna come and get on the same boat? No, you got to have money for that. And right now, Arch ain't got shit because you can
Right.
guarantee that
And
Jamie
then you
moved
don't
that gold.
and we can't wait for Arch to die, be like, okay, now it's time for you to find a wife and have some kids because he's
Mm-mm.
dead.
No,
I was like, you don't have to. Come on now. Oh,
like I need you to like. I understand you grieving, but again, like I said, bad decisions made all around. And
hmm
you can't really blame Ian for that. Ian was protecting his uncle.
And he
I
did
don't know.
know.
I don't know why, but regardless of whether he knew or whether he didn't, whoever was under that coat and hat shot at Jamie. Like
They
it
did.
grazed him.
It
It
did.
grazed him. So Ian didn't know what. You shot at my uncle. Oh, you got to die. Period, point blank. I like I said, I don't understand why she shot at him because regardless of what Jamie said about kicking them off the land, Jamie would not have done anything harmful to them. Now,
hmm
I know he went in there with his gun, but this is Arch Bug. Arch is, I'm assuming for Arch to have had, like he said, a place of honor in Scotland, being the taxman for the grants, I'm sure he had to learn how to fight. He had to learn how to shoot, and he was also a soldier in the Jacobite War.
hmm
So Jamie just went just for safety purposes with that gun because Arch probably very well could have been like, "Oh, you're not taking my gold."
And shot
But
at
why?
him.
But why shoot at him? He would not. He would not have done y'all harm.
I don't know. Well, to shoot at him means you were really trying to kill him and you just wasn't a good shot. Because you didn't shoot up in the air. Like, I don't want to talk. You
Right
shot at
at
him.
him.
So, and you know his voice.
Right.
And the sad part is, it could have been Claire right standing next to him and you end up hitting her. So it's like
Yeah.
so it's like, okay.
Oh, but rest in peace, Merdina Bug. We've been saying
Right.
rest in peace a lot the last.
Yeah, we have. We're like, come on, we speeding up.
We're
Now,
speeding
it,
up.
so the next best part is your house burned down, but you find you another landing for a new house
Girl,
that's beautiful by the water.
let me tell you.
I'm like, your property is humongous.
Right. And that was all land that he was supposed to develop anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if Jamie just had that little spot for later, like, okay, we're gonna stay in the big house for like 10 years and then maybe we're gonna move over there. Like if Brianna and Roger had stayed and maybe had more children, he probably would have given them the big house and built him and Claire another house over there anyway. He said he had been looking at that land for a while for another house. So I'm like, yes, can I get a house right there?
Right. I'd be like,
Like
this was a
all the
getaway house.
trees and all the green and all the beautiful. Please let me.
Yes.
I'll come stay at Fraser's Ridge. I'll pretend to
That's what I'm
be
talking about. That man for real. Y'all house just burned down, but he found another location. He ready to build again. I
right,
mean, when they get back.
right. But I don't like this conversation they was having afterwards because Claire was like, so I never asked you this. She was like, "Do you want to be buried here or in
He was like,
Scotland?"
hell
He
no.
was
Just
like,
throw my
he
ass
was like,
to the animals, to
he
the
said,
wolves.
"I'd be lucky to be buried at all." And I was like, I don't like that because that means that he fully expects that if he ever dies, it's gonna be in battle.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah,
Because he's a warrior. He's a warrior at heart. So he knows like that's where I'll go,
right,
in battle or
right,
defending my wife.
right. But all of this talk that they've been having, you and I have been talking the last couple of episodes about how the end of Jamie and Claire's story is going to be. And it's just so interesting that he always says, like, when she said, well, you haven't asked where I want to be buried. He was like, and I'm not going to. He was like, because I can't think of you dead and I'm not about to.
Right.
And I was like,
and if you're dead, he's dead because he's about surely going to kill himself. So yeah, people will be burying both of y'all. So don't even worry about it.
But that just because they keep throwing, and I know they talk about this like every once in a while, but the fact that they keep throwing that stuff out,
They getting us prepared.
They don't have to end the series with them dying. They can just, but then again, they have too much going on in their life. So it's like, we know they won't ever do just like Claire and Jamie lived happily ever after. And
because they can't, because they get involved in shit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Especially with Claire knowing history, they get involved in shit. And then shit develops around them. So no, they can't live happily ever after. It's always going to be something. Their relationship would never be boring. Their relationship would never be boring. Oh, I know what we've been missing though.
What?
I realized of this taping of this episode, I'm ahead by one episode. However, we haven't had any love making like we had in the past, which is no problem. That was an observation from watching this episode and next week's episode. I'm like, interesting, because was it last season, part of last season and season before, we got a lot of that. We did a lot. I know people had comments about it, but it's interesting that we have now gone to like nothing is happening.
Well,
nothing is happening, and we're fine with it.
Yeah, we're fine with it. And I think part of it is, one, yes, they're showing Jamie and Claire older, but I also think as far as the actors go, they may have gotten to the point where they feel like that's not
they're done
a necessary part of the story. And unfortunately, because of COVID, a lot of those types of scenes don't happen as much in shows.
Yeah, but last season was COVID too, and they were giving their new groove back middle age, and that was after COVID. However, now this is showing the different part of the relationship.
Right.
We still have that intimacy at night, but without having.
We don't necessarily have to have like.
Yeah, and we're not doing anything. And when we did try to do something to ease our mind, that's not what was needed. It just needed to have a conversation between each other to grieve our daughter not being around.
But it could be other factors too. I mean, if you think about it, in this season, when they started filming this season, Claire, she had just had a baby.
Right.
So it just could be just a personal preference that they're like, okay, I really don't want to film these kinds of scenes anymore. And thankfully, because of the relationship and the chemistry with Jamie and Claire, or Sam and Katrina, yes, I miss seeing those scenes, but also I don't have to have them, right? Because I feel the connection between them two. And I'll be honest, like, even as an older woman, when we, at least for me, getting older, sex is important, but it's not like, it doesn't have to be the most important thing, or it doesn't have to, like, it's just different. Like, you crave intimacy of a different sort. And it's like, yes, physical intimacy is fine, but having something like what they have, I feel like, especially for their ages, like, they're supposed to be like, I think Claire is probably around 60-ish in this season.
Really?
Yeah, because she was like,
I thought you was about to say like 50, and I'm like, well, they still should be getting their group
remember
going,
when she went 60. Back. Remember when she went back and they were going to, I forgot which battle it was. Remember, she woke up singing him happy birthday, and he was turning 50. She's 3 years older than him, and it's been years since then. So yeah, Claire should be right around 60 in this timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which does not, a side note, everyone, that does not change anything
No,
if
no,
you're
no. It
60
does
or
not,
older
because
with
I can
your
only hope.
sexual intimacy,
Right. Because
because in
right.
the nursing homes, they have to buy them boxes of condoms. So that doesn't change anything.
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying.
I'm just bringing up, I just noticed it,
Right.
which is not bad, because that means it's like I'm not looking for it in every episode. I just noticed that we haven't had those extreme intimacy scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
noticed, and we're in episode 4. I'm
But I
like,
will
oh,
be honest
that's
too.
interesting.
After the end of season 5 and everything that went on, I'm kind of like, you know what? I can take a break from sex scenes in this show, because
Hmm.
there's been so many traumatic scenes, especially that like the
Correct.
end of season 5. I'm like, okay, I don't have to see them to know that they still have it. Like
Mm-hmm.
even when they are intimate, I don't have to see like the yeah, it's just I don't know, something with this show, with these characters, you feel it regardless of whether they're being
Right.
physically intimate or
Because
not.
we've been there, and you should, because we've been there since the beginning. So we're in their relationship. Now, a new person coming in, which will be kind of strange with this new season watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how you will do that, but we don't, because we feel like we're a part of them. So I know that, after the fire in they tent, they probably did something. When they were just talking in bed in this episode, after he told her where he gonna build her a new home, they did something. Um, I already know it,
Yeah.
and I'm good. Also, when they went into the cave, and came out that cave, they probably did something.
I don't
But
know. I don't think I could
I
do
said,
anything in the cave.
excuse me, when I say when they got out of the cave, I didn't say in the cave, but out of the cave, to remind them, oh,
There's a
remember that
dead
time?
skeleton in that cave. There's nothing about
And I
that
said
would be
out of the cave,
uh
out of the cave.
give
I
me
didn't
about
say in
20
the cave.
give me about
Because first of
24
all,
hours.
in the cave, but see, Claire ain't, she used to those dead bodies. She don't think nothing of it. But in that cave, that's creepy as hell. So no.
Yeah.
But on that lovely hike back to our tents, wherever we staying, we frolicking in the yard, in the grass, in the forest. We
Right.
know it's happening.
But let's talk
But I
about
just
that
wanted to
cave.
bring that up. I just wanted to bring that up, though.
Gotcha. Let's talk about this cave since you mentioned it. So Jamie is always finding good caves out the way. I don't know what it is about him. Maybe he's drawn to them, but he
He's an
finds
explorer, so he just likes to explore. I mean, he
right.
really is. That's why he just knows the area. I think he loves to just go in there and just see what's around. And
Well, I mean, you kind of have to do that too when you are expected to produce landowners or tenants on this
mm-hmm,
land. You kind of have to know the
mm-hmm.
lay of the land.
Yeah,
So,
you have to know.
yeah.
Or he also thinks about when someone's coming after them, where they could hide, things like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Where's the best place to protect his family, type of thing too. So he
Yeah.
has to know his environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he finds this cave. Him and Jim, they found a cave, and
Mm-hmm.
inside the cave is an old, they call him a Spaniard, but it's an old warrior, only has his armor. And this is where Jamie takes the Jacobite gold to hide it. First, he has melted some of the gold bricks down into little ball, musket ball sized
Mm-hmm.
pellets, and then they cover them and make, musket balls that they're gonna hide in this little treasure box. They put it in the cave, and then he tells Brianna and Roger about it in the letters. He does, he just says something about the gold, and he says it's in a safe place. Jeremiah knows where. Just ask him about the Spaniard. And they're sitting there like, what
Oh
is your
no.
like, do we need to ask
You
him
do
about
this. Do we need to ask? That's all I have. Please ask your child.
this?
You may not need it, but just inquire. Like, is there a little cave that you and Granddad, found?
Right.
Just
But at
just
the
ask
same
him.
time, Brianna and Roger may be thinking of it like, okay, you know what? This gold has, well, I mean, Jamie says it in the letter. He was like, this blood has gold on. I mean, this this gold has blood on it.
So
So
pray
they
on it.
might be like, you know what? Yeah, he did say so. You may want to
Yeah.
have it blessed by a priest. And I think Brianna was like, nah, we gonna leave that alone. We don't need no more curses on this family. We don't need nothing else bad to happen.
No,
Like,
it'll be a episode should call National Treasure. Like they go out and try to find the gold. But still just ask your kid, just like, did you find a play spot, granddad? Did you
mm-hmm,
find one? Just ask. But
right,
y'all looking at each other like, we don't need it right now. So we'll come back to this.
right,
Okay.
maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, so
And
like
the, and the thing about it is they looking at each other like they want to know, but don't want to know.
they want to know,
So
but they don't want to know. But I mean,
and
I would be curious too, because I
I
would
would
also
too.
be like, okay, well, right now we're good, because if you think about it, if they go search for the gold, that means they got to go back to the States. Mandy is still a
Yeah.
baby. They
Yeah.
just came from the States. They're staying in
Mm-hmm.
Scotland. So I would be like, okay, maybe later. And then I think at that point, you'll probably be like, okay, you know what? As long as we know it's there
Mm-hmm.
and we can fall back on it at any given time, let's just leave it alone. Because again, with this family, they fully believe in curses. They fully believe in bad luck because they've had plenty of it. They're probably like, you know what? Let's just leave well enough alone for now. We don't need it. We're okay. Like, they have a place to stay. They seem pretty comfortable. Which, oh, by the way, let me say, it's so weird now looking at Roger and Brianna in regular clothes.
I know.
It's so strange. And looking at her with
Mm-hmm.
an updated hairstyle, I was like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like this. They need to go back. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
But I'm always yelling at the screen, but I haven't yelled at the screen in a long time. And this time I was like, just ask him. Just ask him.
I know,
Please.
because we've had what, 2 or 3 conversations since this episode aired,
Yes.
and you were like, I just want them to ask.
And I just want him to ask.
Like, it
And
is bothering
see
you
what the
so
baby
much.
say. Right. Just ask. So
Yeah.
you can clearly see what type of parent I am, where I can't even hold it in. I'll be like, I need to know. Do you know?
But like they said, Jim wouldn't know about the gold because the gold was hidden after they left.
Yeah,
But
but he will know about the Spaniard. And the thing about it is, don't wait, because as he gets older, he may forget. So this is a time to ask him
this is
if it's
true.
true,
Mhm.
write it down, and then later, when y'all want to be adventurous or on the second honeymoon, go and see it as some actual gold.
Right.
Don't wait till he's 20 and be like, do you know? Because we try to figure out how you gonna go to college for 2 more years. Do you know where the Spaniard is? Because Harvard is a little bit expensive at this moment. So
Right.
don't wait then. Because he's gonna be like, I don't even know what you talking about.
Right. Well, I don't know. And this is the thing that I'm curious about. Like, and I think we mentioned this a little bit in the last episode. Like, so you have this child that was born in the past, has come to the future, is having to get reacquainted with all new surroundings, a whole new set of rules and this sort of thing. So how do you ensure that he doesn't forget about the people he loves, about his family in the past, while making sure that he stays fully present in the present or the future, however you want to call it? I just want to know, how do you do that? Because I'm
Mm.
granted, Jim is probably at an age, and I think I mentioned this before, where anything he says, somebody could just, attribute it to an overactive
Yeah,
imagination,
imagination.
that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once he gets a little bit older, and you can't really just say, oh, he's just being imaginative. Like, once kids get a certain age, people really start to pay attention to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, so how would you, Like, what kind of conversations do you have with your child? Say, okay, so we understand that you come from such and such, but you can't tell anybody about the stones. You can't tell anybody about where you came.
I
Like,
don't know. But they need to tell them though. They need to tell both of them when they get older because you don't want to accidentally be like, let's say Claire, and you off and you're traveling and they're like, "Oh, we got a tourist group going to some stones," and you're like, "Oh, okay." And the next thing you hear ringing, like, "Oh, okay, maybe something wrong with me. I'm gonna go to urgent care." Or okay, I think I'm all right. And then
or
you're
you go
like,
to some
"Where's this?"
stones and you're like,
Right.
okay, I remember that. And you touch it and then you
And then
disappear. And then your whole classroom got to go in for a psyche vows because they're like, he touched the stone.
and disappear. And they're like, no, he didn't disappear. You're seeing things. No, he touched that stone and he disappeared. You're going to have to explain to your kids that you are travelers. This is how you travel. You can't talk about it. I mean, if you get bored with life, you can travel back in time if you want to, but just let you know to get back, you're going to need a gym. You got to let them know so they don't happen upon these stones touching it. Like, I hear ringing. Let
And
me
then
touch
they get
the
lost
stone.
inside the stones
Right, because yeah.
because they don't have a gemstone, or they
Mm-hmm.
die. Because we don't know if it's just that they get trapped in limbo, or if like if you don't have a stone, do you die? Do you not? Like, we don't
Do you
know.
have to have a stone to actually to go through?
I
Or
think
do you
you
really
either
have to
have to
have
have
your
a
mind set? Like the people who went through had a stone, probably didn't know that they had one, a gem, but then they didn't have a thought of where they wanted to go. Because Claire could have got lost in the stones.
yeah.
She was just mesmerized by the dancing beforehand, and then
And she
it
heard the
called to her.
buzzing. Yeah.
Right, and it called to her and she touched it. But maybe she did. Maybe you can like I didn't even get to that far in the book because maybe she felt something that pulled her
Yeah,
to
that's what
to
I've
Jamie's
always
side.
wondered too.
Like
Like,
she felt like something was missing with Frank, but she
mm-hmm,
couldn't put her finger on it.
mm-hmm,
Like she loved Frank, but she's like, it is something that is calling me, and I don't know what it is.
mm-hmm.
And that got her through to where Jamie was.
Right. Because I've always wondered about that, and I haven't gotten that far in the books where they explain any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like,
Like something in her, like I'm missing a piece of me
mm-hmm,
that I don't know. I know something's missing, but I can't put my finger on it, which was Jamie.
right. But also, like, I think, well, I will say this: I think they're starting to explore whatever that connection is, because in this episode when they're talking at the end, well, like, the first thing is um Brianna and Roger, they actually go to visit Lallybroch. Like, Brianna takes Roger, she wants to show him where Lallybroch is, but also, talk to him about what it was like back in the day when she visited it. And then when they get there, there's like a construction dumpster and it looks like it's being fixed up, or it may have started being fixed up and it got interrupted, whatever. And while they're there, um, they're getting ready to leave and somebody pulls up in the car and they're like, oops, we're not supposed to be here. So they say that to the lady. They were like, oh, we were just leaving. She was like, oh, are you guys interested? And they were like, what do you mean interested? And she was like, oh, the wind. And she pulls a sign up that was knocked to the ground, and Lallybroch is for sale. So I was like,
Awesome.
oh yeah, y'all are gonna need
That's how it was. I was like, go home and go ask your child
right,
what's going on with the Spaniard.
right. But the other thing is, this is like maybe about almost a year down the line, because we see um when Claire is talking about things or whatever, they're sitting in the stables, and Lizzie and Kezzy, they're there with the baby, and the baby is walking now, and Lizzie is pregnant again, you know. So there's some time that has passed by now. Claire
Mm-hmm.
and Jamie have obviously, they're like, okay, this is around the time that they're getting ready to leave for Scotland. Jamie says something to her about having seen, having had a dream of Brianna and Roger and the
Mm-hmm.
kids. And very specifically, he tells Claire about Jim going to pick up something that was on a table, and he describes it. He's like, it's got like a hunched form, and he picks it up and he puts it to his face and he starts talking to it. So obviously he's talking about a telephone, which
Telephone.
they show us in the very beginning after the intro. There's like a little table with the green telephone, and Jim runs to it and he picks it up. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, Jamie is actually seeing into the future.
Yes.
So I feel like they're starting to explain whatever this connection is. And I don't know if this, it's kind of like one of those, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
I
Like,
know.
was Jamie reaching out to Claire and that's what drew her to him? Or is it because she went back in time that it's like, it's one of those things I'm like, I want them to explain it, but I don't want them to explain it as well, because I feel like the closer we get to an explanation, that's like the closer we get to the end of their story. So I'm not ready for
Yeah,
that yet.
I
But
agree.
I do find it interesting that this is the second time that Jamie has mentioned dreaming of either Claire in the future or
Or
Brianna and the
future.
kids. And he's been like completely accurate.
Right. And that's again, my second thought was, Michelle, get over yourself. If they can travel through the stones, he can have his future dreams. Let it go.
Right. Right.
I am in a world where there are travelers.
Right.
You can get over that. This same world has a dreamer of the
Mm-hmm.
future.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
saying. So I'm over it. I'm so happy for Jamie. He has something special. I just need him to become a traveler and they can come to the present. But that's not going to happen.
I know.
That's fanfic.
It is. But
Because I can't see them seeing their family again. And that's the hard part. I don't like that.
I don't want to imagine that. Like
Well, it's,
it's
well, you,
it's so
well, you
depressing
help,
to think
well, you
about.
helped me imagine that because you made perfect sense when you said it'll be too hard on the kids. And you can't keep homeschooling them and protect. They gonna have to be with other kids and teens and
And
develop relationships. And I just feel like the longer they stay in the future, they have to stay there
yeah. Yeah.
because the kids will get confused. So you said that, and I'm like, well, then that actually means that they may not get to, and I hate that because I feel like they fit more in the past than they do in the future.
Right. Because I mean, especially with the kids, like that's where well, Mandy, I don't think it will really make a difference because she was literally a newborn when she came back to the
Mm-hmm.
future show. So she won't know anything else. It's
Mm-hmm.
really Jeremiah, Jim, that we have to worry about, because
Mm-hmm.
Jim was fully aware of what's going on. Like he would have remembered his uncle Fergus and
Mm-hmm.
Marcelly and the kids, and he would remember all of that because he was old enough to remember that. Like Jim is probably around 5 when they go back to the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it's just kind of like, so if I wonder if Jamie can see them in the future, because again, he's very specific. He talks about seeing the box being delivered. He talks about the woman who grabbed the box and walked down the
And her
hallway,
name.
and her name, when Claire says,
Mm-hmm.
did that, he said they call her by
Mm-hmm.
name, and Claire was like, well, what's her name? And when he says Fiona, it's like Claire has a light bulb, like, oh my God, he really is seeing the future, because she
Mm-hmm.
knows that Fiona is a real person who is
Mm-hmm.
associated with them. I don't think she wanted to freak him out though, which is why she never said anything to him. Because can you imagine saying, yeah, Roger Matt called her Fiona, and then Claire's like, oh my God, you're seeing the future. That's real. Because at that point, then you will start to you'll start to put too much stock into these quote unquote visions. And
Mm-hmm.
regardless, yes, Claire knows that he is seeing some semblance of the future, because again, Fiona is very specific. Like you can
Right. That
dream all
is.
the other stuff, the box being delivered, seeing the kids playing. But when you say Fiona and then you talk about a telephone, something that Claire knows Jamie has never seen in his life,
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of like, yeah, he there's something special going on here
Right.
that he has
And
access.
you don't want to put pressure on them too, where you're like, okay, honey, let's drink this tea, lay down. I need you to dream, so we can figure out,
Tell
certain
me what
parts of
they're
the
doing.
future.
And
No. Yeah.
because
That's
then
too
you
much
won't,
pressure.
and you won't live your life because you'll be so
Mm-hmm.
focused on trying to figure out what they're doing with theirs. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that you want to do. You don't want to get lost, caught up in that. So,
Unless he has a dream where he sees Claire in the future, and then I'm just gonna be effing devastated.
well, he
Because
already
that
said
means
that at one, but I get what you're saying because
like that means if he sees her in the future with the grandkids
then that
by
means
a
that she,
telephone and TV, that means she goes back, which means she go back without him, which means something happens to him.
yeah.
So that better not be brought up in any of his dreams.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm
I don't
telling
want to
you.
hear it. Yeah. Yeah. But the other sweet thing about this episode that I was really worried about as a cat lover is in the beginning of the episode when they did previously on, and they showed like when Jamie brought Adso to the ridge, and Claire talking to Adso. I said, are y'all gonna tell me that Adso died in fire? Because if so, I'm gonna be very upset. And
Mm,
even during the episode, Lizzie and I don't remember if it was Kezzy or the other one, where they were like, we looked for your wee cheaty and we can't find him. So I was sitting there like, they're gonna say that Assel died in the fire, and I'm gonna be really upset. But when Jamie, Claire, and Ian are they're traveling by horse, leaving the ridge so that they can, start their journey to Scotland. Claire finds Atso in the woods. So he did survive. And at this point, she's just kind of like, okay, she has to let him go. And I think at that point, she really grieved because it was like, we saw her upset about the fire, but you didn't really see her cry. And I think once she knew that this thing was safe, this thing that she actually
hmm
loved, she was able to finally let it go. And then she turns to Jamie. She was like, please promise me that we'll come back. Like, we're leaving behind everything. I love this place. I want to come back. And then you see one of the trees that he had carved Fraser's Ridge or FR into. He was like, yeah, we'll come back. We'll definitely come back. And I just thought it was so, I don't know, it's so sad because it's like for them, they left Scotland on a whim only because Ian got kidnapped. They never planned on being away from Scotland this long. They hadn't planned on
No, they
leaving
didn't.
Scotland at all. It's like they left because Ian got kidnapped. Then they got shipwrecked in Georgia. Then they traveled to North Carolina. And then Jamie was basically, I guess you could say, forced to stay in North Carolina, forced to settle.
Yep.
His arts mirror men were there. And we can't say that isn't where he was supposed to be, because it was because he was in North Carolina that he was able to find Myrta again, that he was able to reconnect with his aunt. So there were some good things that came out of it, but it's like now, since they're trying to go to Scotland, will they be able to come back? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't gone that far in the story, and especially
Yeah. Like,
after,
because will they leave and then be gone enough where they come back, the war is over? Like, how does that even work out, too?
right.
So, yeah.
Right, because I think that's the other reason why Jamie wants to leave, because he was like, after fighting against Myrta, he was like, I promised myself I would never be on the battlefield against my son. So I think Jamie's like, yeah, we already know that the colonies win, and we're just gonna go with that. We're gonna go to Scotland and wait this out, and then come back when everything is hunky dory, you know. And I mean, I know that's his intention. But yeah, I was glad to see the little Asso survive. And also, I love the fact that they showed him going to Myrta's grave before he left.
hmm
They showed it twice in this episode, and I was just like, we still feel his presence. I'm still pissed that they killed him off, but whatever. We got him longer in the show than they did in the book.
Plus, I thought that we got him longer than he was in the,
Yeah, because in the books he
book.
died at Culloden.
Yeah, so
But still, it's kind of like it feels like the end of an era now. Since they're going back to Scotland, it's kind of like, okay, so
which makes me want to do a rewatch.
girl, I thought about that the other day, and I
I
was
was
like,
like, oh,
I
they're
don't
going back.
have.
They're going back, so I got to start back from the beginning again.
I was like, I don't have time in my life to do
That's
another
on either.
rewatch. I have Dragon Con prep to do. I have shows I need to watch for that, for panels, and I'm just. But I thought about that the other day. I was like, especially when he pulled the tartan out of the chest, I was like, oh, I want to go back to season 1 so bad.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought about that. I'm like, oh, it's time for me to do a rewatch. One other thing that I want to bring up that was just hilarious. I mean, I actually rewound it so I can see it again. Was when Jamie and Claire is talking to Lizzie and the twins, and he had said something about the child. And then he was like, oh,
Jamie's
just like his
face.
parents. He said, just like his parents. And then he turns out like, oh.
Look like, wait, what?
Like he said it just like his parents, and then it hit him like well, I don't know who his damn daddy is. Which one? I don't know. This is weird. Let me keep going. I just loved it. It was all the mixed things of I said that, but who is his parents? And then oh my God, this is too much for me.
Right.
But I loved it. His facial expression after he said it was
hilarious.
Like it was point on.
Like, wait, did I really just say that?
Yeah.
And even more so, is that really a thing? Like, I really don't know who this child's parents. Like, you got one baby already. You got one twin playing with that baby. You got the other twin standing by her, and she's pregnant. It's kind of like, do these kids even have the same father? Like, but I mean, they're twins. I don't know how much difference it would make.
It wouldn't. And that's the thing. You wouldn't know. Like, you literally would know.
Because they share the same DNA. Like,
yeah,
literally, they share the exact same DNA.
Yeah.
They're identical twins.
So their kids, if they both have kids with Lizzie, they gonna look like what their kids will look like. You couldn't tell who the father. No, you mean you can't.
Right.
So, but when he just said it, it was just so funny. I had to go back because I was like, that facial expression.
I think I rewound it like 3 times just to look at his facial expression. It was so funny.
And Claire just talking like this, Yeah. She can it wasn't prominent when from her past. God, it can be confusing. It wasn't there, but yeah. But it's a little bit more understanding. But for him, this is this is all new.
Right.
Like, what is this?
Right. But
so
I literally just that part just played in the background, and his face is hilarious. But
yes.
So we have Lizzie and the twins watching over the ridge, watching over the house, because of course they've had to move into Roger and Brianna's old house. You got Claire, Jamie, and Ian on the way to Scotland. You have Brianna and Roger firmly ensconced in the future with communication from their parents, which I'm so glad that Claire and Jamie had the foresight to do that. Like, I don't know if they ever thought that Brianna would actually get the chest and the letters, but the fact that they even thought to do that, like, okay, so we'll detail this, and this is what has happened with us. And of course, if somebody finds it, they can be like, well, how do you have people from the 1700s writing to you? And they can be like, oh, they wrote it to she could be like, they wrote it to like my great grandmother who I was named after, and that sort of thing. She could easily, well, maybe not easily, but she could play it off. But I do love the fact that she has that link to them, even though I'm sure it makes her wistful because she misses her family. You know, and even when you see them sitting on the stairs at Lallybroch, and she's looking over the same way Claire did. You remember? And oh, now that I think about it, so when Claire was sitting there at Lallybroch and she saw that vision of Jamie, was that actually Jamie like dreaming her, or like there's so many
I,
possibilities now.
I don't know. That's what it is. It's a lot of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, but I mean,
and I feel like we're not going to really get an explanation now. It's just going to happen to him at different points. He brings it up. He may
I
not bring
want
it
an
up again
explanation now.
until
Yeah,
next season anyway.
yeah,
But I don't think we will,
yeah.
because we still don't have enough information about traveling. I don't know why I'm obsessed with that. Well, I don't have enough information. So that means I just need to
Yeah.
read. I know everyone who's listening. If you're a book reader, I know I need to read the books, because maybe I'll get
But
more of an explanation
we
than I'm
said we
getting now.
weren't gonna do that until after the show ends because
I
we.
know, but I can at least get caught up, because maybe there's
Well, yeah.
details in the other books about traveling. I'm very fascinated about that.
So that might be something for us to do, like at least to get caught up to this point, and then maybe as we're reading, don't read past where
Yeah,
the
where we
episodes
are.
are. Yeah,
Right.
even though we know that they're going to change some stuff
I mean,
from.
I can stop at what book are we? It's 2 books we're currently on right now.
I think this is a cross between 6 and 7, maybe, but
So I
because
can
I'm
go
not
1
that
through,
far.
I go 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we can do that.
However, again, I'm going to try it again, but this time I'm not going to stop in the middle of reading and then go to the television and play the scene so I can see it. Because that's why I'm
Oh,
stuck
that's
where I
what you
am in
were
the book
doing.
now. Yeah, I was. I'm like, oh, I was the last part I was on reading it, not listening, because I know that at different panels, people suggest listening, which I have all the books. I have 4 on Audible.
Okay.
So I could listen to it, but I would actually wanted to read it. So what I was doing was I was reading it. Like, I'm at the part, which is funny. I'm at the part where she's with, I can't even think of her name right now. And they're at the table and she is reading her hand and telling her
Oh, Mrs.
about her
Graham.
lines. Right.
Okay.
Then I had to say, no, let me turn it on. Or when her and Frank, I don't know, it came out, her and Frank went to go visit that castle. I said, let me watch it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
See, so I gotta stop doing that. I need to just read and not be like, oh, let me watch that scene again
Yeah,
to compare.
I think I did that after I watched season 1. Well, actually I watched season 1 and season 2 back to back. And then after that, I think I read the first 2 books once those 2 seasons were done. And I did do that for a couple of scenes because I was like, is this how they did it in the book? Because I think,
And that's how I was. I was like,
yeah,
is that how they did it on the
season
show?
1
Like, I
was
had to go
very
back.
close to, it was
Yes,
very close to
very.
what the book was.
It
So,
was. So I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna dedicate my time to.
okay.
Listening to it, because I heard listening to it was fantastic, or reading it,
Okay.
because I got the books or I got the audio book.
Okay. See, I've tried the audio
And I'm not
book.
going to be a teacher and play the audible book and read at the same time,
See, I
which
can't
I
do
do with the
that.
children
Mm-mm.
sometimes in the classroom. I'm not going to do that. I like doing that though, but I'm not going to do that.
I like doing it for I can do that for children's books, but for adult books, I can't, because when you're reading it or when you're listening to the audiobooks, it's slower than I read. And my
I
mind
speed up.
starts I can't oh, but you know what? People have told me about that too, but I don't
Yeah,
know. That just
you
seems
speed up.
weird to me. So
It gets a little wonky. Michelle went down the street to the store, Publix, and she bought some eggs, ham, cheese, and you be like, slow down.
okay.
Especially when your mind wanders, you be like, okay, let me slow down. But yeah, you can speed it up.
But see, I guess I'm worried
Because for
that
adults, it's easier to speed it up. Because I tried to do that with the students because we needed to finish a book, and I was speeding up the audio, and they had their books listening and following along, and they were like, "Wait, huh?" I said, "Oh,
yeah.
my bad. Your
Mm-hmm.
brain is not processing like mine is. Let me slow this down a little bit
Okay.
for you, so you can get every word slow and clear while you're reading it."
Right.
But for us, yeah, we can speed up the audio, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna pick one.
Well, see, and I think the thing that The reason why I said I was going to wait to read until after this show ends is because I feel like if I read up to the point where we are in the show right now, I'm not going to stop, because at that point I'm going to want to know what happens, especially because I've had spoilers on a couple of things that happen that haven't happened in the show yet, but that I know are coming. And one of them is like
Mm.
this really, really huge explosive thing. And I was like, do I really want to read that, or do I want to wait and see how it plays out on screen? I don't know yet, but I'm
Oh,
scared if I get to that point in the books, or if I get to a point, I'm not going to be like, okay, I need to stop, especially if it's in the middle of a book and it starts getting good.
yes. Yeah, you got to finish it.
So I don't know. I figured out, but you know what? I will do what you said. I'll start it from the beginning. That'll be my little comfort read aside from what I'm supposed to be reading for this book club that I joined. And then we'll just go from there.
I have words for you and joining the book club, but that's another day and time. However, listeners, if you don't mind, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you will put a comment in whether we should for me, listen
Mm-hmm.
to the audiobooks or actually read the book.
Yeah. I know a
Please
lot of
make a
people will
comment.
probably say listen, just because the narrator for the audiobooks are
Right, that's what I
so
heard.
superb. And
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard
what
a
I heard.
little bit of, I think it was, I want to say the second book that I started listening to, and I was like, oh, I love her voice. But I'm one of
Mhm.
those people, when it comes to audiobooks, like I know some people can listen to it when they're working and stuff, but because I work as an administrative professional, like, and I'll be sitting there typing, if I get too engrossed to what I'm listening, I'll start actually typing what I'm listening to,
Mhm.
and that doesn't work for me at work, so I have to
Mhm.
stop. That's another reason why I can't really do podcasts, because when I'm at work and I'm trying to listen to podcasts, if I get
Mhm.
too much into my work, I start literally tuning out what I'm listening to. And with music, it's a little bit different, because most of the music I listen to, I know it in my heart and in my soul, so I can tune it out and still enjoy
Mhm.
it. I can't do that with a podcast, because that's literally people giving their opinions or talking about
New
something. And I
information.
really want to hear what they have to say. But if I'm so
Mhm.
focused that I don't hear it, it just doesn't work for me. So
Right.
I don't know.
And then I can't listen to it laying down right before bed.
Because you're going to be out. You're
I'm
going to be
out.
out. You're going to be
I
out.
mean, it's a known thing about me that when I used to be in the car as a kid, my mom loved audiobooks. And when we were in Miami traveling to Orlando for the weekend, or even from when we moved here and traveled to Orlando and back, she will play, or from a cruise, and she'll play the audiobook. She used to love, I think it was Sue Grafton. A is for alibi, B is for
Mm-hmm.
burglar, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it was. She would play those. I'll be listening. By that second two chapters have played, out like a light.
Especially
Out.
if the narrator has a good voice.
Yes, and those she did. It was really good. And it was like I was out. And now I do that. Like in the middle of the night, instead of trying to turn the TV on when I can't sleep and disturb your sleep by having the TV on, I will just get my phone and put on Audible. And I just put on a book that I already know and
Right.
play it. I'm out like a
Ouch.
light.
Okay.
But I can do it work when I'm doing like making t-shirts or doing crafts and stuff. I can listen to it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I can't listen to it at work when I'm teaching kids, but I can listen to it when I'm
No.
doing a little second job of doing like shirts or something, or cleaning or driving myself somewhere. I can listen to it. I
Okay.
don't fall asleep.
Okay. So
But I'm
yeah.
like you can't, when I'm doing work, like school work,
Nope.
you know.
Mm-mm.
And I can't listen. Yeah, I'm like you. I can't listen to podcasts, but I can watch old shows. So like
Oh yes.
I really can put on rewatch Outlander because I know what scenes I want to pop up and look at, and I know how it
Mm-hmm.
goes, but I can listen
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I can't do that with the book because there's gonna be some new information, some new
Right.
tea. So I have to pay attention.
Right. Right. So all that to say, at some point, Michelle and I are going to start from the beginning. We're going to read the books up until where they are in the show, and we're going to try to stop there so we don't spoil ourselves. And then that way, maybe we can have some discussions on the podcast about
Mm,
the books and compare them to the show, which we have been saying we were going to do since we started covering
mhm,
Outlander on the podcast. But there's just so much TV that we discuss on this show, and even the stuff that we watch that we don't
we
discuss because
don't
there's just no
discuss.
time, and life, and trying to work and do other things. It's just trying to keep up with all of that and then turn around and read a book. I just can't read like I used to when I was younger. Like I used to
Mhm,
be able to devour an 800 something page in like 2 or 3 days, and I just don't have that kind of focus anymore. Probably because I'm watching so much TV and I'm used to the visual stimulation.
mhm.
So, but we're gonna
And
figure
that's
it
what
out.
the person I live with, who I'm related to by marriage, we had set a goal where we were before, bed, like actually read a book,
Mm-hmm.
like physically read a book, because instead of watching TV
Or being on the phone, because
or
that
being on the
that
phone,
helps slow
right?
you.
To
Yeah.
actually like read. Because
Okay.
we have a child now who devours books, is like constantly reading,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like super jealous of her right now.
Right.
Cause she can get through it. And I remember those times like you, like reading a book, sometimes reading to like 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing I needed to get up at 6.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
it
you
was
would
just
still
too
do it.
good.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was too good. So I'm like, I gotta get back into that. Cause it's no reason why I have 5 books on my nightstand.
Only 5.
Well, wait, because then there's 2 over here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not my desk area anymore, but it's 2 of my books right here. One book on that desk over there where I'm doing crafts, and then upstairs
I had to
on my
stop.
nightstand, not including Anthony's nightstand, which have his books, but then a couple of my books in the drawer. So no,
No. So what I had to do
we need to
was
read
I
or
took
right
up
before
all the
bed.
books that I had, like that I had started and not finished. I was like, okay, I inventoried my books because
Mm.
I bought new bookshelves and I started setting things up. And I was like, I'm gonna pull one book out and that's it. And I'm not gonna pull out another book or start another book until I finish this book. So tell me why I have Six of Crows sitting on my nightstand. And the book club that I joined, we're reading Kindred by Octavia Butler. So
Oh, okay.
that is actually sitting on the other side of my bed right now because I started
Yeah.
reading it a few days ago and I got like a chapter in and fell asleep because I've been dealing with insomnia for the last few days. So it was like 5 o'clock in the morning when I was reading this book. I was like, oh, I can't sleep. Let me go ahead and read. So I got through about a chapter and then I started feeling sleepy and it's still sitting there. So I'm like,
Well, maybe that's what you do at night, and that may help with the sleep.
yeah, so
Because you
I'm
were
thinking
like,
about what
oh,
you just said you and Anthony are going to do and read before
like
bed. So
just
maybe I'll do that.
read before bed. But
Hmm.
I have questions when you finish that book, though. But joining a book club is probably better for getting through some of those books, because
You have a
you have
goal.
to meet
Hmm.
and you have a goal.
Yep.
And as long as you don't cheat, like I have done in a few book clubs in the past,
Yeah, I'm gonna
where I
try. I'm
was
gonna
just too
try to.
busy to finish a book. So I had my partner over here who reads fast to read the book for me and tell me all the important information I needed
You
for the
are
book club.
horrible, horrible, horrible.
Because he reads faster than I do. So I was like, if you don't mind finishing this for me and tell me what happens, because I have a book club meeting in 2 days and I can't. I am just too busy. I cannot finish this book. I have done that a couple of times.
Well, I'm not gonna
However,
do that. I'm not gonna
no,
do
but
that.
you'll get through that book and you'll be
Yeah,
done. Because
yeah.
you don't want to go in there and have a discussion and not know what is happening in the book.
That's true. That's how I actually got through the Shadow and Bone books
Hmm.
because I knew I was going to be on a panel for Dragon Con. And I was like, okay, I really need to go ahead and finish these. So anyway,
Yeah.
we've gotten, as Anthony says, we've gotten in the weeds. So we're gonna pull it
However,
back
we were just
in.
talking about making sure that we read the Outlander
Outlander
series,
books. So
how
that's
we're
what
going to
we're
approach the books.
doing.
And, some of our viewers are going to tell me which one they prefer, the audio or the actual book,
Right, right.
which I will start next Monday, which is the 18th.
Okay, so let me get my mind together. So I'll start with you and then we can have some discussions.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
okay, that's cool. You have any final thoughts on episode 3?
No, just please one day ask Jim what happened with the Spaniard. Don't
Find
let that go. I hope we revisit that
Yes,
in the
find out where to
future.
go. Look, I mean, look, at this point, now they have a reason to because they just found out Lallybroch was for sale. So they're
That's true.
probably gonna want
But
to. They're
and
gonna need
then
some money.
when they go back, like how do you have him negotiate? Because I know there's houses in a neighborhood somewhere over there. So he'd be like, I don't know. This was last week for me. This was all forest area
Well, here's
last
my
week.
question. So, how are you going to, even if you do go get the Jacobite gold, like, how do you trade that in? This is like famous, fabled gold. The
I
lost
know.
Jacobite gold with the fleur de lis stamp on it. So how do you just walk in to a bank and be like, hey, we have these gold bars. Don't ask where they came from. I need you to swap this out so we can go purchase. Like that's not.
Archives will probably have to purchase it from them. Like they couldn't sell it, but they
Mm-hmm.
will have to sell it to whoever you sell important merchandise like art and you know
Okay.
vases and things that you find that's from the past.
Right.
Museums wouldn't buy, but somebody
Yeah.
will give you money so they can put it in the museum because that's something that has to be in the museum to explain why this gold is important.
Right. So I guess we'll
However,
see.
I don't no. But the gold, wait a second. The gold isn't the way the gold's supposed to be. It's straight gold. So you can sell it anywhere.
No, that gold has a fleur de lis stamp on it.
No, they melted the gold.
They didn't melt all of it.
They didn't melt. I thought they
No, they
melt
didn't
all of
melt
it.
all of it. They only melted some of it so they could take it with them to Scotland. And then I think they put a few of them in the box for Brianna and Roger. But no,
Okay.
that box that he put in
Okay.
the
I
cave,
just
that
thought
had
for some reason, I thought they melted all. Okay. Well, never mind. Damn. I was trying to help them. Now
mm-mm.
they will
Uh,
have to have a special buyer
mhm.
for that one.
Yes, they will. So hopefully
Mhm.
we'll find out in the next episode that they asked Jim about the gold and they went to go get it. And now they can buy Lallybroch and fix it up. So we'll see in the next episode. But for now, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.
Bye.